Sarah stood in front of the bathroom mirror, but the woman staring back was a stranger. Her eyes looked hollow, vacant. When did that happen? When did she stop recognizing herself? It had been 3 months since Marcus left. 3 months since she finally gathered the courage to end a relationship that had slowly been killing her from the inside out. And yet, standing there at 2 a.m., unable to sleep again, she realized something terrifying. He was gone, but his voice was still in her head. "You're too sensitive. You're overreacting. Nobody else would put up with you. You should be grateful I'm still here." The words echoed like a broken record, except now she was the one playing them. She had escaped the relationship, but she hadn't escaped the prison he'd built in her mind. This is the story of how Sarah learned that leaving an emotionally abusive relationship is just the beginning. The real journey, the one nobody talks about, is the excruciating process of piecing yourself back together when you can barely remember who you were before you broke. Sarah had always been vibrant. Her friends used to call her the spark because she lit up every room she entered. She was opinionated, creative, decisive. She knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to go after it. But 3 years with Marcus had methodically dismantled all of that. It started subtly. A comment here about her loud laugh. A suggestion there that maybe she shouldn't wear that outfit because it made her look desperate for attention. Slowly, criticism became concern. Concern became control, and control became her entire reality. He never hit her. That's what made it so confusing. People understand physical abuse. They see bruises and immediately recognize violence. But emotional abuse? It's invisible. It's your partner telling you they love you while simultaneously convincing you that you're fundamentally broken, that your perception of reality can't be trusted, that you're lucky anyone tolerates you at all. By the time Sarah left, she had lost her job because she'd called in sick so many times to avoid his angry texts when she stayed late. She'd lost most of her friends because he'd convinced her they were toxic and didn't have her best interests at heart. She'd lost her confidence, her voice, her sense of self. Now, the stakes were clear. Either she figured out how to rebuild herself from fragments, or she would spend the rest of her life as a ghost of who she used to be. Or worse, she'd end up in another relationship just like the last one, because she didn't know how to recognize red flags anymore. She didn't even know what healthy love looked like. The question that haunted her every day was simple but devastating. Was there anything left of the old Sarah to recover, or had she been destroyed completely? 6 weeks into therapy, Sarah sat across from Dr. Chen, a woman with kind eyes and an unsettling ability to see right through her defenses. "Tell me something," Dr. Chen said. "When you think about yourself, whose voice do you hear?" Sarah opened her mouth to respond but found herself speechless. The question hit like a punch to the gut because she already knew the answer. Marcus' voice. Even in her own thoughts, she heard his criticisms, his corrections, his constant reminders that she wasn't good enough. I don't know how to think for myself anymore," Sarah finally whispered. "It's like he rewired my brain. I second-guess everything. I apologize constantly. Yesterday, I apologized to a lamppost because I bumped into it." Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "That's what emotional abuse does. It replaces your internal voice, your intuition, your self-trust, with the abuser's voice. It's a form of colonization. He occupied your mind. So how do I evict him? That's the work we're going to do together. But Sarah, I need you to understand something crucial. Healing from emotional abuse isn't linear. Some days you'll feel strong and clear. Other days you'll feel like you're right back at square one. That's normal. That's part of the process." Sarah felt tears burning behind her eyes. "I just want to feel like myself again." "I know. But here's what I need you to consider. Maybe the goal isn't to go back to who you were before Marcus. Maybe the goal is to discover who you're becoming now, with this experience as part of your story, not as your entire identity." That night, Sarah started a journal. Dr. Chen had given her an assignment. Every time she caught herself thinking a critical thought about herself, she had to write it down and then ask, "Is this my voice or his?" The first entry was devastating. Out of 27 negative thoughts she'd tracked in just one evening, 24 were Marcus's words verbatim. His voice had become her inner dialogue. But seeing it on paper changed something. For the first time, she could see the invasion clearly. And what you can see, you can begin to fight. 3 months into her healing journey, Sarah was finally starting to feel glimmers of her old self returning. She'd reconnected with her best friend Jenna, started painting again, and could go almost an entire day without catastrophizing about her worth as a person. Then she saw him. Marcus was sitting in her favorite coffee shop, the one she'd been going to every Saturday morning as part of her reclaiming her life routine. He was with a woman, laughing, looking happy and normal, looking exactly like the man Sarah had fallen in love with before everything went dark. Her entire body froze. Fight or flight kicked in, except she could do neither. She just stood there, a statue made of trauma and triggered memories. And then Marcus looked up and saw her. For a moment, something flickered across his face. Recognition, guilt, but then his expression shifted into that familiar smile, the one that used to make her melt and later made her skin crawl. "Sarah! Hey, how are you?" His tone was casual, friendly, as if they were old colleagues who'd lost touch, not two people whose relationship had nearly destroyed one of them. The woman next to him looked curious, but not uncomfortable. That's when Sarah understood with crushing clarity. He was doing it again, to someone else. The charm, the gradual isolation, the subtle criticisms that would eventually become a cage. Sarah's first instinct was to run. Her second instinct was to warn the woman. Her third instinct was to scream. But then she remembered something Dr. Chen had told her. Your healing isn't about him. It's not about making him understand what he did or warning his next victim or getting closure. Your healing is about you choosing yourself, again and again, regardless of what he does. Sarah took a breath that felt like it reached all the way down to her bones. "I'm good, actually. Really good. Take care." And she walked out. Her hands were shaking so badly she couldn't hold her coffee cup. She sat in her car and cried for 20 minutes. But underneath the tears and the triggered anxiety, there was something new. Pride. She had walked away. She hadn't engaged, hadn't tried to fix or explain or defend herself. She had simply chosen herself and left. Later that night, she texted Jenna. "I saw Marcus today, and I survived it. I actually survived it." Jenna's response came immediately. "You didn't just survive it, you won." 6 months into recovery, Sarah met David. He was everything Marcus wasn't. Gentle, respectful, genuinely interested in her thoughts and feelings. He listened when she spoke. He never made her feel small. He encouraged her art, her friendships, her independence, and it terrified her. The fear started small. A flutter of anxiety when David said he'd love to see her paintings. A spike of panic when he asked what she wanted for dinner instead of just deciding for her. A wave of discomfort when he apologized for being late and actually seemed to mean it. Healthy felt foreign. Healthy felt wrong. One night, after David had been nothing but kind and supportive, Sarah picked a fight. She accused him of not caring, of being distant, of probably talking to other women. She threw everything at him, trying desperately to make him react, to make him show his true colors, to prove that this goodness was just an act. David didn't take the bait. Instead, he said quietly, "Sarah, I don't know what you're going through, but I can see you're hurting. I'm not your enemy. I'm not whoever hurt you before. But I also can't prove that to you through an argument. Only time and consistency can do that." After he left, Sarah collapsed on her floor and called Dr. Chen's emergency line. "I'm sabotaging everything good in my life. she sobbed. Why am I doing this? Dr. Chen's voice was calm and steady. Because your nervous system was conditioned to expect pain. When you don't receive it, your brain gets confused and tries to create it to return to what feels familiar. You're not sabotaging, Sarah. You're having a trauma response. The question is, are you willing to feel uncomfortable in the service of your healing? What does that mean? It means sometimes healthy will feel wrong because your system is recalibrated to chaos. Your job isn't to trust your feelings right now. Your job is to trust your values. Do you value respect, kindness, mutual support? Yes. Then you act according to those values, even when your trauma is screaming at you to run or fight or test. That's how you retrain your nervous system. That's how you heal. Sarah called David the next morning. I owe you an apology and an explanation. Can we talk? She told him everything, about Marcus, about the abuse, about her fear that she was too broken to love or be loved in return. David listened without interruption. When she finished, he said, "Thank you for trusting me with this. I'm not going anywhere, Sarah, but I also need you to communicate with me instead of testing me. I can be patient with healing. I can't be patient with games." It was the healthiest boundary anyone had ever set with her, and instead of feeling rejected, she felt safe. 9 months after leaving Marcus, Sarah received an email that made her blood run cold. It was from the woman she'd seen with Marcus at the coffee shop. Her name was Emily, and she'd found Sarah through mutual friends on social media. The email was short. "I need to talk to you about Marcus, please. I think I'm going crazy, and I don't know who else to ask." Sarah's first instinct was to delete it. This wasn't her problem anymore. She'd done the work to heal. Why should she re-traumatize herself by diving back into that nightmare? But then she remembered herself 9 months ago, isolated, confused, convinced that the problem was her own inadequacy. She remembered how desperately she'd wanted someone, anyone, to tell her she wasn't insane. She met Emily at a park the following Sunday. Emily looked exactly how Sarah had felt, exhausted, anxious, constantly apologizing for taking up space. Within 5 minutes, she was crying. "He says I'm too needy, that I'm paranoid, that I'm sabotaging our relationship with my insecurity. And maybe I am. I used to be so confident, but now I feel like I'm losing my mind. He's never mean exactly, but I feel small all the time. Is that normal? Am I overreacting?" Sarah felt like she was looking at herself in a mirror, staring at the ghost of who she'd been. This was the moment. This was where she would either speak her truth or stay silent to protect her own peace. She thought about Dr. Chen's words. Healing isn't just about saving yourself. Sometimes it's about using your story to light the way for others. Sarah took a deep breath. You're not overreacting. You're not crazy. You're being emotionally abused. Emily's face crumpled. But he loves me. He says he loves me. Love doesn't make you feel small. Love doesn't make you question your sanity. Love doesn't isolate you from everyone who cares about you. That's not love, Emily. That's control dressed up as concern. For 2 hours, Sarah shared her story. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't make herself the hero. She just told the truth about what emotional abuse looks like, how it operates, how it destroys you slowly until you can't remember who you were before. "I can't tell you what to do," Sarah said finally. "That's a choice only you can make. But I can tell you this. Leaving was the hardest and best decision I ever made. And if you decide to leave, you won't be alone. There's a whole community of survivors who will help you put yourself back together." Emily left with Dr. Chen's contact information and a promise to think about everything Sarah had said. That night, Sarah stood in front of her bathroom mirror again, just like she had 9 months ago. But this time, the woman looking back was familiar. Not the same as before, no. She had scars now, visible in her eyes. But she also had strength. She had wisdom. She had survived and was becoming whole again. For the first time in years, she recognized herself. Healing from emotional abuse isn't a destination. It's a practice. It's choosing yourself every single day, even when your trauma is screaming at you to settle for less than you deserve. Sarah's journey taught her several crucial lessons, and these are the truths she wants you to know. First, you are not crazy. If you feel like you're losing your mind in a relationship, if you're constantly confused about what's real, if you feel like you're walking on eggshells every day, trust that feeling. Your intuition is not broken. It's being deliberately undermined. Gaslighting is real, and its entire purpose is to make you doubt yourself, so you'll stop trusting your own perception. Second, leaving is just the beginning. The hardest work comes after you escape. You have to deprogram your mind, retrain your nervous system, and rebuild your sense of self from the ground up. That takes time, professional help, and extraordinary patience with yourself. Don't expect to be over it quickly. Emotional abuse creates complex trauma, and trauma doesn't heal on a timeline. Third, healing isn't linear. You will have good days where you feel strong and clear. You will have terrible days where you feel like you've made no progress at all. Both are part of the process. Don't judge yourself for the bad days. Just keep showing up for yourself. Fourth, you have to actively reclaim your inner voice. Start noticing whose voice you hear when you think about yourself. If it's your abuser's voice, you have to consciously replace it. Write down your negative self-talk. Question it. Ask yourself, is this true, or is this what I was trained to believe? Over time, your authentic voice will get louder. Fifth, you'll need to learn what healthy actually looks like. After abuse, your baseline for normal is completely distorted. Healthy might feel boring or wrong at first because your nervous system is conditioned to chaos. That's okay. Give yourself time to adjust. Healthy relationships are consistent, respectful, and boring in the best possible way. Drama is not passion. Chaos is not love. Sixth, you can't heal in isolation. You need support. Whether it's therapy, support groups, trusted friends, or online communities of survivors, you cannot do this alone. Emotional abuse thrives in secrecy and isolation. Healing requires connection and witness. Seventh, your story has power. When you're ready, and only when you're ready, sharing your experience can be incredibly healing. Not everyone will understand. Some people will minimize what you went through because there are no visible scars. But the people who get it, the other survivors, they'll see you, and you'll see them. That recognition, that mutual understanding, is sacred. Eighth, you are not broken. You are wounded, yes. You are healing, yes. But you are not fundamentally damaged. The idea that you're too broken to be loved was planted in your mind by someone who needed you to believe that so you wouldn't leave. It's a lie. You are worthy of respect, kindness, and genuine love exactly as you are right now. Sarah eventually started a blog documenting her healing journey. She called it Reclaiming Sarah because that's what it felt like, a reclamation project. She was taking back all the parts of herself that had been stolen, distorted, or hidden away. Emily did leave Marcus, and Sarah was there to support her through the hardest parts. They became friends, bonded by their shared experience and mutual commitment to never let anyone make them feel small again. David stuck around. The relationship wasn't perfect because no relationship is, but it was healthy. He gave her space to heal while also maintaining his own boundaries. They learned how to communicate through triggers and trauma responses. Slowly, Sarah learned to trust that consistency without waiting for the other shoe to drop. A year after leaving Marcus, Sarah had her first art show. She'd created a series of paintings about transformation and rebirth. The centerpiece was a large canvas titled The Woman in the Mirror. It showed a woman fracturing into pieces and then reassembling herself, but in a new configuration. Not the same as before, but whole nonetheless. At the opening, surrounded by friends and strangers admiring her work, Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in years. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. She was not the same woman who had stood in front of that bathroom mirror, unable to recognize herself. She was someone new, someone forged in fire and pain, but also in courage and resilience. She was Sarah, and she had survived. If you're watching this video because you're in an emotionally abusive relationship right now, I want you to know something. You deserve better. You deserve to be treated with respect. You deserve to have your feelings validated. You deserve to take up space without apologizing for your existence. If you're watching this because you left but you're struggling to heal, I want you to know, you're not broken. You're recovering from systematic psychological warfare. That takes time. Be patient with yourself. Get professional help. Find your community. Keep showing up for yourself even on the days when you can't remember why you're trying. If you're watching this because you want to support someone who's been through this, I want you to know, just listen. Don't judge them for staying so long or going back or struggling to move on. Don't try to fix them. Just witness their pain, validate their experience, and remind them that they're not alone. Here's my challenge for you today. Write down one thing you love about yourself. Just one thing. It doesn't have to be big or profound. Maybe it's your sense of humor. Maybe it's your compassion. Maybe it's your resilience. Whatever it is, write it down. Put it somewhere, you'll see it every day. That's the beginning of reclaiming your inner voice. And remember, you are the hero of your own story. Not the victim, not the survivor waiting for someone to rescue you. The hero actively choosing yourself again and again until that choice becomes second nature. Your shattered self can be rebuilt. The cracks are where the light gets in, and the woman or man you're becoming on the other side of this pain, they're going to be absolutely magnificent. You've got this. I believe in you. And more importantly, start believing in yourself again, because you're worth fighting for. You always have been,